How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Chaf Aleph, Daf 21 of Masechta BavaBasra. Friends, this is going to be Givaldig. What time is it? Oh, I don't even know what time it is. Alright, so what? Alright. It's Givaldig Daf. Mamish, a Givaldig Daf. Very, very Givaldig Daf. Very Givaldig stuff. Great stuff on this Daf. Really, really good stuff. Good stuff on this Daf. Alright. We're going to start in Daf Chafim Beis at the Mishnah. There's two Mishnahs. We're going to start at the bottom. We did the first one yesterday. We're going to start the second one, about 10 lines from the bottom or so. Chanu shebechotzer yachol limchos. I'm telling you, I think like BavaBasra so far is like going through like all of the sugyas of like the neighborhood that I live in. And peeing in public. Now we're going to talk about making too much noise. That's something that another thing that's nogea lemaise. Oh my gosh! This morning there were people. It was a Thursday night. There were people up in the park till 5 a.m, as if it was the middle of the afternoon. Mamish, just like as if like this wasn't a residential area. I was awake, of course, but like I imagine I'm probably one of the exceptions. Most people are probably trying to sleep. Nobody cares. Yeah. All right. So chonu shebechotzer. So if you have so chonu shebechotzer yachol limchos biyadav lomar lo ein yachol lishon mikol nechnasin mikol yotzin. If somebody wants to make a store in a chotzer, in a courtyard, so the other people could say, no, I don't want people coming in and out of the store at all hours. I'm not going to be able to sleep. It's like my neighbor, she yells at the people in the park. Like, what are you doing here? I can't sleep. Now, I was wearing my noise canceling. I woke up this morning or last night, I guess technically, and I just put in my noise canceling headphones. So I don't know if she yelled at them. I assume that she probably did. Maybe she gave up at some point. Anyways, so the people could say, hey, we don't want you making your store here. Velomar lo eini yochol lishan. I'm not going to be able to sleep. Mikol nechnosin, mikol yotzin, because people are going to be coming in, coming out. Okay. Aval ose kelim, but a person can make vessels in his house, even if he doesn't open a storefront. But he can, he can use his house and make items. Yotzei umochu b'soch hashuk, and take them to shuk to the shuk and sell them there. And the people there the people in the chutzner cannot say, hey, we don't want you making vessels in here. I can't sleep because of the hammer blows, or because of the milling, and not because of the tinokis, the children. The shaila is, what exactly does it mean, these children, these tinokis, that right? What does Rashi say? Tinokis kasakadatech. So initially we're assuming tinokis habarim liknos yain v'shemen. People, right, these children are going to come to buy wine and oil, b'chodavar nimkar b'chanus, and things that would be sold in a store. The question is, why in the Reisha do we say you can't have a store because the people are going to make too much noise coming in and out, and yet in the Sefer we're saying that it's okay for these kids to be coming in and out? Like, why is that okay? The Gemara, that's literally what the Gemara is going to ask. Says the Gemara, correct the Gemara, ma'ishna Reisha u'ma'ishna Sefer. How come in the first part of the Mishnah we say, hey, the people could say we don't want people coming in and out all the time, it's going to be too noisy. Yet in the Sefer we say, lo mikol atinokas, that it's okay. You can't complain about the kids coming in and out. Amar Abaye, Sefer ason l'chotzer acheres. So Abaye says that in the Sefer we're talking about a different chotzer. You can't, protest kids coming in and out of a different chotzer. You can't protest the store opening in a different chotzer, okay. You can only protest in your own chotzer. Rava says, mutter. So then just, why doesn't it just say, but a different chotzer is permitted? So Elam Rava, rather Rava says, Seifas only tinokis shall be srabin chever, this is gishmak. Rava says, that in the Sefer, when it says that the kids can come in and out and nobody can protest, it's talking about Tinokis Shel Beis Rabban. It's talking about kids coming to cheder. If there's a cheder in the chutzner, so then the people can't say, hey, we don't want a cheder over here. They can't say we don't want a cheder over here. They have to allow them in. They have to allow the cheder to operate and the kids come in and out. Umitakonos Yoshua ben Gamlo ve'elach, and from the enactment of Yoshua ben Gamlo. Has anybody heard of Yoshua ben Gamlo? We've had Yoshua ben Gamlo in the past. Rashi quotes from Yevamis that he was it says Rashi Echad Menokanim Agedolim Shamdu B'Vayis Sheni Kedama B'Yevamis. He was married to Marta Bas Baisus, I think. So he comes up, but he's not a household name. But Chevra, I think from this Gemara, it sounds like Yoshua ben Gamlo should mamish be a household name. You know, like Sarah Schneer, I think, right? Wasn't she from Bis Yaakov? Who else? Or maybe like Rav Meir Shapiro from the Daf HaYomi, or who are like other big names in Chinuch. It seems like Rabbi Yeshua ben Gamla is like this. What did we say? We're about to say, V'takonos Rabbi Yeshua ben Gamla ve'elach, from the Takono of Yeshua ben Gamla and on. The Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav says, Rav Bram Zocher also Aish Latov. Remember this fellow for good. Yoshua ben Gamla Shmo. His name is Yoshua ben Gamla. She'il malehu nishtakach Torah mi Yisrael. If not for Yoshua ben Gamla, we would not be learning Torah in Babylon Talmud all over the world right now, learning Torah, learning Gemara, learning, as we said recently, this text that we're learning was written 1600 years ago. That's a really, really long time ago, and the Yidden are still learning to this day. That may not have been the case if not for Yoshua ben Gamla. Maybe we owe everything to Yoshua ben Gamla. He saved the day. Shabbatchila, because initially, right? Meaning our tradition has evolved over time. Initially, the Torah was given at Har Sinai. And it was given and we went weiter, right? Meaning the Gemara, right? The Torah Shabbat Peh was only written down, 2,000 years ago. At this point, it was Rebbe, a little bit less. But anyways, Shabbat Chila initially, Misha Yesh Lo Av Melam the Torah. It was kind of not organized. It was, your father taught you Torah. Misha Ein Lo Av, if you didn't have a father, Torah, you wouldn't learn Torah at all. It was taught father to son. My dosh, why? You teach your children. That's how Torah was taught. A father would teach his son, I guess whatever he knew, he would he would teach his children, transmit to his children. If there was no father, then there was no education. His skinu, so the Chachamim, there were iterations. The first iteration was that the Chacham said, this is not sustainable. So they said, you know what, in Yerushalayim we should set up, sort of a center of learning, right? We should set up cheders in Yerushalayim. And they would come to Yerushalayim and, you would come to Yerushalayim and learn there. My Darush, what was that based on? Which pasuk? Kimitzion teitzei Torah dvarshem Yerushalayim, because from Zion comes Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem. So Jerusalem became the center of learning. But still, what would happen is, right, all the learning was happening in one place, in Yerushalayim. So Mishayesh Lo Av, somebody who had a father, Hayamaylo Malamdo. So if you had a father, your father would take you to Yerushalayim and take you to the cheder and you would learn. But Misha Ein Lo Av, but again, if you didn't have a father, who's going to take you there? Who's going to make sure that you're going to the cheder? Lo haya olev v'lamid. He wouldn't make it to Yerushalayim to learn. Hiskinu. So then the next iteration was Shumoshivim b'chol pelach ufelach. In every sort of not exactly every city, but every sort of region, I guess there would be a regional school. And from all the cities in the region, they would go to this regional school. And you would go, once you were about 16, 17, you would go to this sort of regional school and you would learn. But 16 and 17 is already old. And at that age, if your Rebbe would get upset at you, so the child at that age would already say, to heck with this. And he would leave. And he wouldn't get a Torah education. Acheba Yoshua ben Gamla, until Yoshua ben Gamla came, V'tikein sheyehu moshivin milamdei tinokis, and he made a takana that there should be milamdei tinokis, that there should be cheters, b'chol medina v'chol ir v'ir, in every state, in every city, in everything. Education should be spread out all over the place. Right? Every place should have access. Every yingel should have access to a Torah education. Umachnisin osun kiven sheish kiven sheva, and this education would start young, start at 6, 7, and it sounds like this is Be'etzim, the model that we have till this day. Be'etzim, that every place has a yeshiva, every place has a cheder, and every place is learning from a young age, from right, Torah education. They should grow up with a Torah education, and that's how you keep the Torah going from generation to generation, through thorough education from a young age and well accessible. This was the model of Yoshua ben Gamla. Wow. Maybe we owe everything to Rabbi Yeshua ben Gamla, all of it. The fact that we're still learning to this day, maybe because of Rabbi Yeshua ben Gamla. Ki hada Omar le Rav Shmuel bar Shilas. It's like Rav said to Rav Shmuel bar Shilas, who was says Rashi, Melamed Tinokus Hoya. He was a Melamed. Ad shis lo takbil lo skabel umikan ve'elach kabel. So until the age of 6. Don't yet accept pupils, but from 6, accept pupils, from the age of 6. And force feed them Torah, stuff them up with Torah. Kisura, like an ox, as Rashi says, like an ox that they put on the yoke on its neck against his will. Just stuff these kids up with Torah. From the Rav of Shmuel bar Shilas, it says Rav to Shmuel bar Shilas, ki moches liyanuka. If you have to discipline a yingul, lo timche ele ba'arkse de mesana, only use like a shoe strap, a shoelace, nothing too painful. Okay. The kari, so the kari. Now, if the yingul learns, so the gevaldik, hachitov, that's amazing, right? If a yingul's learning gevaldik, what if the yingul's not learning? What if he's not succeeding? But even if the yingul is not learning, let him stay there. Let him be there. Be with the rest of the chevra. What does Rashi say? It says, eventually he'll pay attention. If he's not paying attention now, don't throw him out. Let him stay with the rest of the chevra, and eventually he'll pay attention. Okay, givaldik. So we had said that for these tinokos shel beis rabon, if these children are coming in to learn, so then that would be okay, and nobody in the chutzner could say they're making too much noise. May say we have a contradiction. If you have somebody in the chutzner who wants to be a rofe, right? Who wants to open up a moel geschäft, a bris geschäft, that I guess the babies would come and they would do a bris in the chutzner. Umon, or a bloodletter, v'garde, or a weaver, umlamet tinokus, or a cheder. B'nei chotzer ma'akvin olav. The people in the chotzer can say no, can veto. So 1 second, it sounds like tinokus shel beis rabban is not a free pass. So achav ma'askinu b'tinokus da'akum. No, that's talking about the children of the Nochrim. And they, so there, yeah, you can protest, but Yiddish kinder, so they're allowed. Tashma, Shnaim Shoshim b'chotzer, if you have 2 people in a chotzer, Vikash echod ben lasas rofe v'uman v'gadim lamitinokus, one of them wanted to be a mole, or a bloodletter, or a weaver, or a melamitinokus. Chaver ma'akiv olav, the other person could say, no, I'm not okay with that. Hochanami b'tinokus da'akum, there also, when we're talking about a melamitinokus, it's talking about tinokos da'akum. If you have a person who has a house in a chotzer with different partners, different people living in the chotzer, he can't rent it out. Lo l'rofe not to a Moav, v'lo l'uman, or to a bloodletter, v'lo l'gade, or to a weaver, v'lo l'sofer Yehudi, v'lo l'sofer Amoy, not to a teacher of Yiddish kinder, nor Nachrim. So there we see that even teaching Jewish children, he can't allow that to go on if the other people don't want it. So well, again, that's also different. That's talking about kind of like the principal, meaning like the head teacher who would like teach the other teachers how to teach. So like he wasn't just like a malamed, he didn't have a cheder there. He was like running a thing where he would teach the teachers how to teach, and there were all these conferences and people coming in and learn, So yeah, you could protest that, but just stamaz a cheder with the Yiddish kinder come to teach Kamat Salafah, so that would be okay, and nobody can stop you. Amar Rava says Rava, Mitakana Yeshua ben Gamla ve'elach, from the takana of Yeshua ben Gamla and onward about having cheders, all over the place. Lo mamtinon yenuka mimasa lemasa. We don't have a yingle travel from one city to the next to go to a cheder, because there's going to be a local cheder, and if not, you can sort of compel the people to open a local cheder. Because, as Rashi points out, the sakana makatrik b'shasa sakana, that when you're traveling, travel between cities is fraught with danger. So therefore, from the takana of Yeshua ben Gamla, that every single city should have a cheder. So we don't bring a yingle from one city to the next. But from one synagogue to a different synagogue, if you prefer to learn by a different malamed in a different synagogue, so that would be fine within the same city. But if there's a river between the two synagogues, so then we wouldn't cross the river. But if there's a wide, safe bridge, then that's fine. But if there's a narrow kind of plank to cross the river, then no. V'omar Rava says Rava sach makre dardike esin v'chamisha yenuke, that one malamed could be responsible for 25 pupils. V'ika chamshin mosvinon trei, and if there are 50 pupils, so then we get 2 teachers. All right, fine. What happens between 25 and 50? I think it's a shaila. And if there are 40, mukminan reish duchna, right? So we said at 50 you get a second teacher, at 40 you get like an assistant. It almost reminds me of like when I was in Camp Morashah Kollel. So Mordechai Willig was the Rosh Kollel, and he gave a Gemara shir. It was very difficult. It was very complicated. It was on a very, very high level. And I was a young fellow, no clue what he was talking about. And so there would be, somebody would give like a Chazara shir. He was also in the shir. He was listening to the shir also. He was preparing for the shir and listening to the shir, but he understood it. So then he would then kind of explain it to the people who didn't understand it. So a similar thing here, right? If there's 40 students, so then you kind of have this, you hire this person who's like, he's also learning, but he is also able to help out the other people. So, okay, so if there's 25 people, you have 1 malamed, 50 people, 2 malameds, 40 people, you get kind of this helper. Where am I? And the expense is assisted by the people in the city. V'amaravan, says Rava, Haimakre Yenuke Degoris, if you have one malamed who teaches at a certain pace, V'ikachmina Degoris Tfeimine, but there's another malamed who teaches at a quicker pace, he's able to get through more material. Lo misalkinon lei, says Rava, we don't replace the first one. Right? If you have a first, one malamed who teaches at a certain pace, but you have another malamed who teaches at a faster pace, he can get through more material, don't replace the first one. Because, the second one, he gets through all this more material and he thinks he's great, but when he replaces the first one, he's going to get a little bit ahead of himself. He's going to say, oh wow, they really are machshav me. I replaced the first one. They think I'm better. And then he's going to kind of slack off because he's going to think they're never going to replace him because he's better. Rav Dimi min Arda, so therefore don't replace the first one because the second one's just going to get cocky. Rav Dimi min Arda Omar says Rav Dimi min Arda kol shekein degaris tfei. No, fakert. If you have a first melamed and he's replaced by a second melamed because that second melamed is expected, is understood to be to get more and to teach more, well then certainly he's going to keep it up when he gets his new position. Kinas sofrim tarbe chochma. Because the jealousy, maybe jealousy isn't the right word, jealousy. I'm going to say jealousy, even though it might not be the right word, of the Torah scholars increases wisdom. Meaning, what's going to happen? The second melamed is aware that he just took somebody's job. And that person who lost his job is not going to go down silently. He's going to try to get his job back. He's going to be telling the other people, he's going to try to find some loophole, some way to get his job back or to make the other person not look so hot. So the other person is going to have to, because he knows that this is going on, he's going to have to constantly be continually proving himself to say, no, I really am the better candidate, and he's going to keep on proving himself, and therefore this competition, this kinas sofrim, actually pushes people to have to prove themselves more and to do a better job. And says Rava Anitre Makre Dardike. These two Makre Dardike, right? These two melamids, Chad Goris Velo Daik. If one of them covers ground, but he covers a lot more ground, but he's not very detail oriented. He makes mistakes. The other one is very detail oriented, right? But he doesn't move so fast. He goes slower. Interesting. So Rava says that we should prefer the melamed that covers more ground, even if he's not as detail oriented, because any mistakes that might be transferred to the pupil over time they'll get cleared up. Rav Dimi min Arda says no, mosvinan daik do velo goris, that no fakert. We should prefer the one that moves slower and covers less ground, but is teaching properly, because shabeshta gave into all. Because a mistake, once this pupil, once this young child learns in an incorrect way, that's how it will stay. The chsiv, as the pasuk says, kishesh is chadoshim yoshav sham Yoav b'chol Yisrael arichris kol zocher be'edom, that Yoav killed all of the males in Edom, and that was Amalek. He left the females alive. He left the women alive. And when he came to King David, David Melech says to him, "My time how come you did this? How come you left how come you only killed the men and not the women?" So Yoav says, Timches Zechar Amalek. What do you mean? The pasuk says that you have to wipe out the males, the men of Amalek, not the women. Amalek. David says to Yoav, "For onan zecher korinan." No, we don't. It's not zechar. It's not the men of Amalek. It's the remembrance of Amalek. Everything to do with Amalek, men, women, everything. So Amalek onan zechari karyun. To which Yoav says, "But I was taught when I was a young boy, the males zechar." So also Shai Rabbi. So Yoav paid a visit to his Rebbe when he was his melamed. So Akrisan, how did you teach us? How did you teach us this pasuk? He says, I taught you the remembrance, to remember Amalek, anything that would remember them, men, women, everything. So Yoav got very upset because the melamed was irresponsible in his teaching, and therefore Yoav took out his sword to kill his melamed. So Amar le Amai, and the melamed says, "Wait, why are you going to kill me?" Amar le Yoav says, the pasuk says, "Orur ose melech Hashem remiyah." Cursed is the person who makes the work of God, irresponsible, I guess. So Amar le Shavki lahu gavra deleikum ba'orus. He said, "Okay, fine." But so he says orus. He says, "I'll be cursed. So let me just be cursed. Why do you have to kill me?" So Amalei Ksiv, so Yoav says, because the continuation of the pasuk says, Va'aru monei char b'midam, and cursed is the person who holds back his sword from blood. Meaning, if somebody's chayv misa, somebody's chayv misa. So ikadami katle, ikadami lo katle. So those who say that Yoav proceeded to kill his Malamed for not being diligent enough and for allowing a mistake to spread among his pupils, and some say he did not, he spared him. From Rava says, Rava Makri Yenuka, Malamed, Shasla, somebody who takes upon himself to plant and develop a vineyard. Tabcha, a butcher, Ve'umna, a bloodletter, Ve'sofer Mata, and a scribe, Kulan Kimosun Ve'omdin Ninu. All of them are considered kind of forewarned because they do damage that could be permanent. Klala de Milsa, and the general rule is Kopseda de lo Hadr Moser Ve'omed Hu, that any damage that could be permanent, you are considered forewarned. Omar Rav Huna. Oh, so now says Rav Huna. It's taka interesting. Says Rav Huna, Hai bar mavoa de uki reichaya. So if you have somebody who lives in a mavui and he's already got a geschäft, he's a miller. V'aser bar mavoa chavre v'kamuki gabe, and then another miller in the mavui also wants to open up a miller geschäft. So dinahu, says Rav Huna, dima'akev ilove, that Ruvain the miller, the first miller, the original miller, can say to Shimon the miller, the one who wants to become a miller, that no, you can't do this. I'm the miller here. This is my geschäft. The Amalei, because Reuven says to Shimon, you're interfering with my livelihood. I'm the miller over here. I don't want competition. Go mill somewhere else. You can't be a miller here. There's already one of us. Let's say that the following supports Rav Huna. Markikim mitzudas adog min adog, that we distance a trap of a fish trap from the fish, kim lo ritzas adog, as far as the fish will go. V'chama omar v'chama, and how far is that? Amar bar Rav Huna, says Rav Bar Huna ad parsa, until a parsa. So this is talking about a scenario where a certain fisherman has identified a fish that he wants to catch. And he identified where the fish lives, and he knows that, if he puts out some food in this fish's sort of path to where it lives, he will make the catch. So nobody else is allowed to spread their nets in the area in order to allow this fisherman his catch. So we want to say that, you see, once a person kind of has his thing in place, nobody else can interfere. That's just like over here, where Reuven the miller can say, hey, nobody's allowed to interfere with my livelihood within my Daled Amos. So we say, no, it's not necessarily proof, because shiny dogim, you could say that fish are different, because what's unique about fish is the Yaive Sayara. That fish, that fish, a fish is like, it goes on like automatic. Once a fish sees food, it's going to go for it. And therefore this fisherman kind of figured out exactly what he needs to do in order to catch this fish, and it's a given that this fish is going to go into his trap. It's basically considered like it's his already. And that's why nobody else can interfere. But that wouldn't necessarily be the case by the millers, because, Shimon could say to Reuven, look, Reuven, you open your geschäft, you have your geschäft. I have my geschäft. You'll get your customers. I'll get my customers. Amalei Ravina L'Rava, says Ravina to Rava, Lema Rav Huna D'Amar Rav Yehuda. Let's say that Rav Huna is like the opinion of Rav Yehuda. What's this? It's not that we learned in a Mishnah. Where? Gittin? Alright, we've seen this before. Rabbi Yehuda Omer says, Rabbi Yehuda, lo yichalek chenvoni kloyus ve'egozon letinokus mipnei shemagilon etzlo. Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is that a store owner cannot hand out like candies and things to the children, because then whenever the parents give money to the children to go pick up something for them, they're going to want to go to that shopkeeper. And says Rabbi Yehuda, it's not fair. It's unfair competition because, memele, the children are going to go to him and not to the other person. And not to the other sorah. Chacham matir, and the Chacham say that this would be acceptable. So we want to say that Rabbi Yehuda, right, that Rav Huna is like Rabbi Yehuda, that both of them are sensitive to competition. That just like Rav Huna says that once Ruvain is the miller in the Mavui, nobody else can sort of, interfere with him. So Rabbi Yehuda also is saying that, you can't interfere, you can't hand out candies because then everyone's going to go to you and you're going to interfere with other people's livelihood. But the Chachamim say it's okay. I feel the Tema Rabbanon, to which Rav Huna would say, no, even the Chachamim would agree with me in my case. Because the Chachamim because that machloka is there about giving out the candies, are talking about where we already have established businesses. Right? Rav Huna is talking about a case where currently there aren't two established businesses, there's only one, and now another person wants to come to town. The machlokas of Yehuda and the Rabbanan are talking about where there are already established businesses, and they're just trying to do different marketing opportunities. And different marketing opportunities are available to all businesses, existing businesses, equally. The rabbis disagree with Rabbi Yehuda there and say that the person can give out candies and things. Because, the person giving out these candies can say, Ana kamaflagino amaguzi at plog shiuski. Look, I'm handing out to these kids walnuts. You could hand out almonds. Kilu, look, I'm doing what I'm doing to drive up business. You could do other things to drive up your business. Kilu, you have the same opportunity as I do. And therefore the Chacham said there's no problem with that. Aval hocha, but over here, I feel the Rabban and Modi, Rav Huna would argue that the rabbis would agree with him that in this case where Ruvain is the miller in the area, that Shimon can't open a competing miller business. The Amar lei kapasakta lei lichyusi. Because Reuven can say to Shimon, look, I'm already accustomed to making a certain, I have my business, I get certain business, I'm accustomed to a certain amount of income. I don't want you to now come and interfere with that and ruin my livelihood. Meis we have a kasha on Rav Huna. Also, Adam Chanus b'tzar chanusel shechaver. We have a brayso that says that one person can open up a store right next to the other person, right? You can have one pizza shop in one place and a competing pizza shop across the street. And a bathhouse right besides another bathhouse, and you can have competition, no problem. And neither one of them can say, hey, you can't do that. Because, let's say Shimon, who's opening a competing business, can say, look, you have your business on your property, I have my business on my property. Leave me alone. So we see that's taka okay. It's a kasha and Rav Huna. So we say it's taka machlokas tanoim. The Tanya is willing to buy. So kofim b'nei mavoos zeh shlolos b'nein lochayv v'laburski v'lamlam mitinokus v'lechem b'nei balei umanios. Again, kofim b'nei mavoos. If you have somebody in a mavui, and let's say you have already a tailor. You already have a tailor in the mavui. So the people in the mavui can say, we don't want you to bring in from outside another tailor who's going to compete with our tailor, who's a resident of the mavui. Again, kofim b'nei mavos, you can force the people in the mavui one another. Shaloshet b'nei, not to bring in from outside. Lo chayit, not a competing tailor. V'lo burski, and not a tanner. V'lo melami tinokos, and not a melami tinokos. V'lo echad mibnei balei umanios, and not one of the other professions that already exist in the mavui. V'lishcheno eno kofeu. But for another person in the mavui to do it, right, we say you can protest bringing from outside the mavui. But for somebody else in the mavui already, that would be okay. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel Omer af l'shcheno kofeu. Whereas Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says no, even if it's the neighbor, you can say I don't want you competing. And therefore Rav Huna is going to say Reb Shimon ben Gamliel that Reuven the miller can say to Shimon the miller, I don't want you, I don't want you, I know you live here, I know you're my neighbor, but I don't want you opening up a milling business there, that's my business. But Tanna Kama says that if they're both in the same mavui, then they can both open, then Shimon can open his milling geschäft, and that's not a problem. Rav Huna Breda of Yeshua says, Rav Huna Breda of Yeshua, Pshitali, it's obvious to be Barmata Achrise Matzimakiv. It's obvious to me that if somebody from another city wants to come to this city, so the people of this city could say, hey, stay out, we already have somebody who does this profession. But if he's paying the head tax, if he pays, I think the Chaga is the Jew tax, right? But if he's paying the Jew tax in this city, well then he's paying taxes here, so he's allowed to open a business here. Okay, so from another city to this city, the people of this city could say we don't want you here. And two people in the same mavui, there can be no protest, right? Like the Chachamim, not like Rav Huna, right? If Reuven has a milling geschäft and Shimon wants to open a milling geschäft in the same mavui, that would be okay. But Rav Huna Breda of Yeshua asked, by mavoya achrina mai. But what about one mavui on another mavui in the same city? So we said that if somebody's coming from outside the city, the people of the city can protest. If it's the same mavui, so then you can't protest. But what about same city, different mavuis? Can, I guess coming from one mavui to another mavui, can there be a protest take? We say, ich weiß nicht. Rav Yosef says, Rav Yosef umodi Rav Huna, that Rav Huna nonetheless admits, b'makre dardeke, lo matzi ma'akev, that Rav Huna though admits that when it comes to a Malamed, if you have Reuven the Malamed and Shimon wants to be a Malamed, then you cannot be Ma'akev, you have to allow that to go through. Because we said, Kinas Sofrim, this, I don't know if jealousy is the right word, but this sort of competition will only drive further and improve the wisdom, because I guess each Malamed is going to want to prove himself and show that, right, that he's a good, worthy Malamed, that people should go to him, and then the children will benefit, and ultimately Am Yisrael, which is why we're still learning to this day because of these Malameds. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak Gomoder, Rav Huna Breda of Yeshua, and Rav Huna Breda of Yeshua admits, Berochlin amachzirin ba'ayaros, because Rav Huna Breda of Yeshua said that you can't come from an outside city to this city, right? The people of this city can protest, but if we're talking about people who are coming to sell like perfumes and things, hamachzirin ba'ayaros, who come to these cities and kind of, go around house to house, street to street, selling spices and perfumes, that would be okay to Amar, because we said Ezra Tikein Loin Li Yisrael, that Ezra established for the Yidden, She'roch L'machzirin Ba'ayaris, that these perfume mongers would go around to the cities, Kadeshu Tachshitim Mitzuin Livnos Yisrael, so that these perfumes and things and jewelry will be available for the Bnos Yisrael. But that is only that they can come to town and, sell their wares and then get out of town. But not to open up a permanent shop, then that would be a problem. But if he's a Talmud Chacham, then he can even open up a permanent shop. The Rava allowed Rabbi Yosha and Rabbi Ovadia to establish a shop, which wasn't strictly according to the halacha, but my time I'll come came to Rabbananu also letardu migir sayu, because since they are Talmidei Chachamim, so then, if you're gonna have to walk around and sell things and find customers and stuff, so then it'll be difficult for their learning. So Rava allowed them to kind of set up a shop in another city. Wow, there was so much good stuff on this daf. We talked about teaching the children and Cheder and Rabbi Yeshua ben Gamla, and how he basically set up sounds like kind of the Cheder system that we still kind of work with to this day, that the young pupils come and they learn and throughout all the cities, and different types of teachers and methods and things like that, and competition, opening up similar geschäfts, and Rav Huna's opinion was that competition within the same area is not okay. We saw a different opinion that Itaka is okay. Very, very interesting stuff here. on Daf Chaf Aleph Masechta BavaBasra. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you later. Peace out.